A weird story broke over the weekend about the next presidential race. Check this out. A Republican shadow campaign to potentially replace Trump in 2020 is underway, New York Times reports. Trump's already running for re-election, holding campaign rallies and seeking donations, but many in the party have been quietly prepping. But in interviews with more than 75 Republicans at every level of the party, elected officials, donors, and strategists express widespread uncertainty about whether Mr. Trump would be on the ballot in 2020, and little doubt that others in the party are engaged in barely veiled contingency planning. They see weakness in this president, said Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona. Look, it's not a nice business we're in. John Kasich is reportedly ready to run again, even if the president does, though the Times report notes that the shadow candidates and their operatives have signaled that they are preparing only in case Mr. Trump is not available in 2020. Vice President Mike Pence, despite being vocally supportive of Trump, set up the Great America Committee back in May and, as the Time reports, is quietly prepping himself. Mr. Pence's aides, however, have been less restrained in private, according to two people briefed on the conversations. In a June meeting with Al Hubbard, an Indiana Republican who was a top economic official in Mr. Bush's White House, an aide to the vice president, Mary Obst, said that they wanted to be prepared to run in case there was an opening in 2020 and that Mr. Pence would need Mr. Hubbard's help, according to a Republican briefed on the meeting. Reached on the phone, Mr. Hubbard declined to comment. So now you have a lot of chatter. People are saying, ooh, what's happening here? Are we looking at maybe Pence 2020 splitting from Trump, going rogue, saying, I got this shit, I really want to be president anyway, that's what I want to do? Is that what we're looking at? Are we looking at, John Kasich, hey, I'm going to take a run at this thing and I'm going to overtake Trump, and, John McCain is whispering behind the scenes, look, people are making contingency plans, dude, because we don't know if Trump's going to last that long. He might be impeached, or he might not run for re-election, or there might be a million problems. So the Republican establishment behind closed doors is, all right, let's go after this thing, man. Let's make sure that everything's set up for when Trump falls. Is that what's happening? Okay. Let me tell you the reality about this story. Fake news. Fake news. Yeah, no. See, this is an instance of the never-Trumpers whispering in the ears of the establishment press people. That's what this is. So, guys like Bill Kristol, neocons like Bill Kristol, Evan McMuffin, and David Frum, people like that. John McCain is in this crowd, Lindsey Graham as well, where they're Republicans who are part of the establishment who don't like Trump for a variety of reasons, usually the dumbest reasons imaginable, and they want to get the word spreading. Like, seriously, remember how many times Bill Kristol was making an ass of himself and tweeting, #peak Trump. He did it after, the first round of polling came out. He did it after the first debate when Trump won. He did it after the fifth debate when Trump had won all the debates. He did it when Trump won his first primary. He did it every step of the peak Trump, peak Trump, peak Trump, peak Trump. And Trump kept winning. And then, Bill Kristol has never been right about anything. Let's just get that on the record. He's the worst ever. Like, he's never been right about anything. Whatever Bill Kristol says, assume the opposite is totally true, because it is. So you have guys like that who, it's wishful thinking, man. It's wishful thinking. After Donald Trump had gotten the nomination in the Republican primary, you had guys like Bill Kristol doing TV interviews saying, oh, maybe Mitt Romney will do a run as an independent, and then Mitt Romney will obviously win. I mean, if you're talking about Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton versus Mitt Romney's going to win if he runs as an independent. Number one, no, he'd get his ass handed to him on a silver platter, and you're too dumb and out of touch to realize it. Number two, he wasn't going to run after Trump got the nomination, you jackass. So this is that crowd going, oh, well, I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend who knows somebody in the administration that maybe Pence is going, maybe I'm going to run on my own. The only thing that might be true is that they're thinking, hey, if there's whatever, some sort of impeachment proceeding and or Trump gets caught red-handed with some corruption shit, that we need to have some backup plans. Like, the only thing that might be true is the Kasich thing. How Kasich's like, yeah, look, I want to run and I'm going to run no matter what. You know, but here's the thing. You're not going to get a successful... Once you have an incumbent Republican president, or Democratic president for that matter, if you try to primary them in 4 years, it ain't going to work, dude. It ain't going to work. The base is going to rally around their incumbent. So, and, you know, it was the same thing with Obama. If Obama had a primary challenger in 2012, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work because he's already the incumbent president. He's the Democrat, and you're going to have the base is going to rally around. Not the base of the Democratic Party is in the strong left wing of the Democratic Party, but the loyalist Democrats are going to circle the wagons, and it's going to be obviously enough to get the guy who already won to be your main candidate to run against the Republican. So the same thing would happen here. So Kasich would just get destroyed on a level that's so hilarious that I actually kind of want to see it. So John, run, because I want to see you just get absolutely obliterated and get your bubble burst and come back down to earth, because you're not as liked as the people in the DC bubble, the elite bubble, make you think you are. So the Kasich part might be the only part that's true, where he's like, yeah, I kind of want to run, and, you know, hey, I got to challenge him from the more moderate wing of the party or whatever. But all the other stuff is nonsense. In fact, Mike Pence came out and said that's like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And remember, I've read about 8 other articles that go into detail about how loyal and subservient Mike Pence is to Donald Trump. Mike Pence is a weird dude, man. He's a weird dude. He's a tried and true far-right Republican. He credited his career to Rush Limbaugh. He went on rants about how evolution is wrong on the floor of the House. And this is a guy who went from relative obscurity in the sense that I think he was governor of Indiana at the time, and he was most known for signing an anti-gay bill and being massively anti-gay, and Trump put him on the map and said, hey, you'll be my VP. So I think he actually is super loyal to Trump. I really do. And I don't think he would ever do something like split from Trump when he's the VP. He might think on some level, hey, maybe I'll get to be president if something happens with Trump and he's got to step aside. But that he would actively plot against him and run against him, no, that's not happening. This is, again, the main point here. I think it's all wishful thinking of the Republican elites, the never-Trumpers, the John McCains, the Lindsey Grahams, the Bill Kristols, the David Frums. You know, this is that crowd whispering in the ears of other DC journalists, and other DC journalists go, oh, I got to write an article about this. Oh, I heard Pence is maybe thinking about splitting from Trump, and everybody, the Republican establishment, is lining up together. And by the way, here's the other angle of this. There were like the Republican establishment, they're just as out of touch and idiotic as the Democratic establishment, where they always think like, no, we got this. We totally got this. Like with Hillary Clinton and, you know, her minion idiots in D.C. Like, oh, no, we totally got this. See, we have to run against Trump because we're the only ones that can win. Bernie Sanders can't win. He's old and he's like Jewish and maybe an atheist and a socialist, and nobody likes him. I mean, we're the only ones who could win, so that's why you got to pick us. They always have this unearned sense of superiority. Like, we got this. What do you mean? Hillary Clinton, she's great. Now, the D.C. elites are the same. Like, the DC Republican elites are the same. We got this. What do you mean? We can jab Bush. Jab, exclamation point. We got it, Jeb. We got it, Marco Rubio. Who doesn't like Marco Rubio? I mean, his last name's Rubio, so ooh, that's a little wild and a little ethnic. He might be a minority folk. So I'll say Marco Rubio. He does exactly what we want. He's our little bitch to the corporations, but he's a little different and he's young. So they're so out of touch that they think like, oh, well, obviously, if we were to decide to challenge Trump in 2020, we would win. Even with Trump's monumentally low approval rating, any establishment Republican candidate you pick who's from the traditional establishment wing of the party would get their ass handed to them. It wouldn't even be close. It wouldn't even be close. It would be such a blowout, it would be comical. Yes, and that's even with Trump being historically unliked, because he still has a 31% approval rating, and that 31% ain't going nowhere, bitch. They're going to show up to the polls in the primary and beat the shit out of John Kasich or Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush or any other clown, just like when you threw them up against Trump in the first place. And they got thoroughly embarrassed. So what? It's this, they really believe they always got this shit on lock, and they never do. And then the final point is, there's a few people who still don't get it. Like, there are other people in the Republican establishment who have figured out, oh, what? Okay, so Trump is rough around the edges, and he's impolite, and he says naughty words. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's fine, because the establishment, we're going to get what we want either way. Like, Goldman Sachs people have realized this, Steve Mnuchin, Gary Cohn, that's why now they're all working for him. A lot of these people who were from Goldman originally supported Hillary, but now they're backing Trump, and now they're in Trump's administration. Why? Because when push came to shove, he acts like an establishment Republican in terms of policy. So a lot of the establishment goes, yeah, he's our guy anyway, he's going to do what we want anyway, we're just going to have to deal with the impoliteness. Like, whatever, that is what it is, but he's still going to do what we want, so let's go in that direction. There's only a few in the establishment on the Republican side who go, yeah, no, because Trump's bad, like Bill Kristol and David Frum and people like that. So, again, I think this is wishful thinking from the same people who were the never-Trumpers from the beginning. And they think like, oh, yeah, now it's hashtag peak Trump. And, hey, man, he's not going to win the first debate. Okay, he won the first debate. He's not going to win more than one. He won the rest. He's not going to win a primary. He won the primary. He's not going to win the nomination. He won the nomination. He's not going to be the president. He became president. And now this is them going, yeah, he's not going to be run and get the second term. Look out, because what comes next? We have to try to prevent that last one, though, which is why we got to go all in on Justice Democrats. JusticeDemocrats.com/fight. Let's get Justice Democrats elected all over the country, because the only way to beat the fake populist right is the actual populist left.